Big day for the Canadian hydrogen industry today. The federal government announced its hydrogen strategy, and it's ambitious, it's well thought out, there's money attached, and it looks like this is going to be a real shot in the arm for the Canadian industry and for the Canadian economy. So to talk about that, we're going to speak with Mark Kirby, who's the head of the Canadian Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Association. So welcome to the interview, Mark.
Good to be here. Thank you, Markham.
Exciting news for you folks. Maybe let's start with your general overview, your response to the announcement today by Natural Resources Minister Seamus O'Regan.
Well, we're naturally very pleased with the announcement of the hydrogen strategy of Minister O'Regan. It's been a long time in the making. They have consulted extensively, and they have listened. They have put in place a number of key recommendations that we think will really help to drive the commercialization of hydrogen energy in Canada and really position us to be a leading country in this area. A lot of work to be done, and our members, the 80 plus members of the Canadian Hydrogen Fuel Cell Association, are very keen to get to work and start getting these things going, flesh them out, and bring forward projects, because it's all about projects. It's all about getting actual work on the ground and getting those funded and getting those moving forward.
Now, for my take, there seem to be four components of this plan. Stimulating domestic demand, stimulating domestic supply of hydrogen, the exports of hydrogen, and hydrogen technology. Is that a fair way to look at this plan?
It's a very good point. I mean, starting with the last one, technology is critical. The technology has advanced, but to maintain Canadian leadership, we are going to have to continue investing in technology. And I think that we have a very good track record of that, and we can be very proud of the companies, the researchers, and so on. Looking at the demand supply part of it, those two go hand in hand. You need to be in parallel developing demand as you develop supply, and that's challenging. And that's where the federal government and other levels of government really do need to step in and help to de-risk that, because it's very hard to make those multi-billion-dollar investments in hydrogen production if you're not sure where the demand. And conversely, it's very hard to rely on hydrogen as your main source of energy if you aren't certain where you're going to get it from. So this is a very clear signal that, hey, look at hydrogen. It will be available, and Canada will be a leader in the supply of low-cost, low-carbon hydrogen. And if you're looking to make investments as an energy company, look at hydrogen, because there's going to be massive growing demand for it. This is a huge business opportunity. Those two together, domestic demand and starting the domestic supply, will lead to the international markets. I mean, I think we need to recognize that it's going to take some time for those markets to develop. Again, a huge role for the federal government in making sure that the pathway is there, that the codes and standards are in place for exports, and to bring together the industry partners so we can bid credibly on supplying Korea or Japan or whomever it happens to be.
Now, a number of the provincial governments have announced that they either will have hydrogen strategies or they have them now. In Alberta, for instance, you see the government moving towards a blue hydrogen strategy, where you're starting with natural gas, and then you sequester the CO2, and that leaves you with hydrogen. But in Quebec, we're looking more at green hydrogen, where they're making it with electrolysis and hydropower. And so how are the feds going to work with the provincial strategies?
I think it's really acknowledged by the feds that every region is going to have its own pathway to producing hydrogen. It's going to have its own applications that make sense. I mean, there's going to be common ones across the country, but there's others that where you may focus on one or another application. Vancouver ports, obviously that's something we're going to see as a huge opportunity in this area. The way that the strategy has been promoted is to have regional blueprints developed in partnership with the provincial governments, and actually even going down to a more regional level, looking at hubs. And this is a key thing, because hubs or clusters or valleys, whatever you want to call them, are areas where you have low-cost supply combined with multiple applications to get scale. It's an approach that's being followed around the world, and it's an approach that we can follow in Canada, and we must follow in Canada. And that is very much a provincial or local effort that needs to be undertaken. And that's again where we as an association are really keen to support that. We're kicking off provincial branches where we have working groups together to look at advancing hub projects in key areas. Alberta has taken a real leadership role in this, but I'm hearing about them in Sarnia, in the Maritimes, in BC, Quebec, et cetera. There's really a good opportunity right across the country to look at the strengths and the opportunities and come together with some meaningful projects. Now, the key thing that needs to back all this up is going to be funding. And the measures in the revised climate plan for Canada do have some important funding measures. The $1.5 billion allocated to clean fuels is a good step, but honestly, it's just a first step. And I think that is acknowledged in the plan that there is going to have to be much more investment than that. If you look at what's happening around the world, if Canada expects to stay in the forefront here, there is going to have to be more investment. But again, a great start. We as an industry need to show that we will use that money, that we will start getting projects on the ground and competing with the biofuel projects that are also being advanced to bring forward good economical projects.
Last question, Mark. I've read a fair amount about different, hydrogen development in different countries. And one of the things that seems to be primed for this is the eagerness of the financial markets to get into clean fuels. And it would seem that if you have the right regulatory environment, the right export strategy, you've got credible companies, credible projects, this looks to be a really good time for the investors and the financial community to step up and support this.
Absolutely. I think there's enormous opportunities right now. And as you say, investors are recognizing it. Just yesterday, there was an announcement of an investment in a good Canadian company, H-Tech, $20 million investment by a US company, recognizing they want to be in the Canadian market. They want to have access to Canadian technology. And I think that's just a precursor of some of the work that's going to go forward. It is going to be a huge investment opportunity. There is going to have to be a role from government to help in de-risking those early investments. Again, around demand, around some of the technology risks. But yeah, I think any smart investor is now starting to look at this and seeing that there's going to be a huge. The numbers are a little bit scary. You look at the trillions that they're talking about are going to be needed in this area, and when we look around Vancouver alone, just one little area, we need to invest in hydrogen production. We have the ports, the vehicles, the blend. It's really very exciting, the economic opportunity that is going to come out of this.
Final question, Mark. I always get asked by students and teachers, instructors, where are the jobs coming from? And it would seem to me, I think the minister mentioned in his press release, there'd be 350,000 new jobs across Canada. And what kind of jobs might these create? Are these jobs for which we already have skill sets, and will universities and technical schools, high schools even, have to come put in place training programs and education programs?
Yes to all the above. Yeah, we are certainly going to look to our technical colleges and universities to recognize and support the development of skills in this area. Just my member companies, we're all expanding, looking for good, talented people. We do have the advantage that we are an energy technology exporting nation. We've done this for decades, and a lot of those skills are very transferable. You look at our oil patch and some of the skills that are there in terms of processing, pipelines, et cetera. Those are all directly applicable over to hydrogen. Our massive renewable power and independent power producers, they're going to have lots of opportunities. So, and I mean, even going much further down to the level of servicing and maintenance of fuel cell vehicles, the electric vehicles that are going to be built in Ontario, that will have the opportunity to expand into fuel cell electric vehicles. So I think, there's going to be employment opportunities right across the board. We are, and that's this reality of the world today. We're going to have to look at at developing talent, at moving talent, and retraining people from different sectors, and to add immigration to bring in those talents that we're going to need, because it's going to be busy.
Mark, thank you very much for this. This is going to be very exciting as it rolls out over the next couple of years, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this any number of times as as the strategy gets unfolded and implemented.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for your interest, and I look forward to discussing it further.